aboard, you people! Starship Ron Roper off for another day of broadcast insolence.
Before we proceed any further, Mr. Khan, I'd like to let you know that Christina and Susan and I have decided to form our own union.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take that right to the top. We feel like you don't recognize the unions we're already in.
Yes, you're already in a union.
Have we worked too many hours yet today?
Yeah, we need a break.
It's time for our break. We've worked 7 minutes.
I have yet to figure out. Now I'm trying to figure out.
Speak for yourself.
I am deeply, deeply, deeply trying to figure out exactly what it is that has happened here. And as much as I read this, I still am a little confused. The NCAA says that they are disappointed in this ruling, and then they say that if this goes through, if this is going to be appealed, obviously, the ruling of unionization of NCAA football players, at least for these private colleges that are in the Division I BCS category, right? That's big time college football. That if these 17, 18 schools, whatever it happens to be, that have this, Northwestern obviously being the test case for this, and Northwestern being the lead, but you also have Vanderbilt and Duke and Rice, and I believe Tulane, and then the Ivy Leagues that are private. I think there's one or two in there that have public funding. But whatever those schools are that are in that, then they all get to join a union. Oh. Why is it for the rich kids to get to join a union? The fancy kids.
It's an odd turn of events, and I think it took everyone by surprise. I mean, we all knew that they were trying to do this, but we just figured it wouldn't go through, right? I mean, we said that ourselves. Oh, well, this is just grandstanding. It's a way of them trying to get a voice at the table, as they're saying, or a place at the table.
And then they got it.
And then they got it. And they're like, oh.
Now what do we do with it?
Robert Redford said at the end of the candidate when he won, what do we do now?
Exactly. I think that's exactly it. And I mention this because it will be a great irony that the parents at Northwestern and Stanford and Cornell and all the rest, those parents paid a lot of money to send their kids there. Now all of a sudden they're going to have a union football program, but at The Ohio State University, which really should have a union.
Well, it's an entire city, right?
Yes.
What's the enrollment there?
5 million, I believe, at Ohio State. Right, yeah. But schools like that, you would think,
can't beat Dayton and basketball. That's another story.
Oh, don't even start. Anyway, all right. So now what they're saying here is this will dismantle the student athlete system, and that the NCAA is saying that, and that it basically will eventually create a ripple effect to not only be in this level of college, it'll be in state level of college, state sponsored, state paid for schools. State-operated schools.
You mean, what if you go to Oakton Community College?
Well,
eventually?
Now that's the question. I mean, we don't know exactly how the slippery slope is. Right now, they're just looking at Division I athletic programs.
Right.
Where in Division I athletic programs, because there is already an economic relationship, right? Because in order to play at those programs, and this doesn't cover walk-ons, which also seems to be a little unfair, those who are getting paid by way of scholarship.
Full ride to play football at Duke or Vanderbilt or Rice or Northwestern. Full ride, the 4 years. Right?
There's already a financial relationship between the athlete and the university. And therefore, they should be covered by work rules because they should be considered even though they're not paid in dollars necessarily, except by the boosters.
I know.
They are being paid in consideration.
In some cases, we're talking about, what, a $250,000 worth of education, right? If it's a $60,000, $70,000 a year type of all-encompassing thing at some of these schools. And then I think they do get a little bit of a stipend for some food and things like that. I think there's a small amount of money, and obviously there's, a few other considerations. So they are getting paid in a way.
The biggest thing I don't understand about what...
Yes, Susan, let us help you with this.
Because you're a girl. WLSAM.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me that I'm a female and don't understand anything
you don't understand
of
any
this
of the
sports-like nature. But my question is, and what has not been really talked about so much, is what is their big gripe with the work conditions? Obviously, they feel they're being overworked, but they're also being compensated. Do they realize also that they're going to have to start now paying union dues? And there's a whole taxes. Like, is their tuition going to be considered a salary, and then that's taxable income? I mean, what is
the problem, Susan Carlson? Well,
but what is their goal to achieve?
Those are great questions.
What is their goal?
No one has any idea. Is the answer to that question.
Do they want more breaks? Do they feel like they're being worked too hard?
Can I give one?
Yes.
I mean, one of the things is if you are injured and you can't play anymore, they want workman's comp. They want to be able to continue the scholarship and to continue to attend the university. If they're not playing anymore and they're kind of marginalized, in a lot of cases, it's sort of like, remember A Few Good Men, the Code Red, this shouldn't happen, but it sometimes does. If a guy is recruited and he's supposed to be a star, now he's in the 5th string of the depth chart. He's not even suiting up. They only suit up so many players for the traveling squad because that costs money. They try to get him to quit.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Because if he quits, he loses his scholarship.
And he hurt himself playing for the school. So that makes sense. They should take care of those players. But does it go beyond that?
It does. Well, I think another thing is, and I've used this example before, Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, Texas A&M. He's on the cover of magazines. He's all over the place. He's bringing big ratings in. He gets suspended for half a game because he signed a couple of footballs and jerseys, allegedly. In the meantime, Texas A&M is selling his jersey, number 2, for $157 on their website and in their bookstores and in their souvenir stores. And he's not getting any of that.
They might regret forming a union if, in fact, they are able to. Because there are pros and cons. I mean, there are benefits, but there's also a cost.
So here's the deal, though. Big-time college football is big-time college football. Mm-hmm. There's billion-dollar television contracts for this, right? Just the Bowl Championship Series alone. That's after the season is over.
So they want to make more than just tuition.
There's $1 billion in revenue that goes into that comes out of that. And so you've got ESPN and CBS and NBC, although they only have one college football team, Notre Dame. I mean, think about that. They signed a multi-year, multi-millions of dollar contract with one university just to telecast their home games.
Yeah.
Right? So there's so much money in this.
The Big Ten network, the SEC network.
Right. Now the question becomes this. Are they going to have to, because this is like, it's sort of like how when the healthcare thing happened, when they signed that 4 years ago now, officially. Congratulations, America. The one thing we knew was going to happen is there were going to be all of these unintended consequences that were going to eventually result in, the government's just going to have to pay for it because individuals aren't going to have to pay for it. We're heading toward that. This is the beginning of this is the unintended consequence of heading toward paying college athletes for being there.
Yeah.
Or being done with college football on Saturdays as a televised sport.
Which is not going to
happen.
That
ain't going to happen.
How dare you say that?
Or
blasphemy.
Kids are going to have to get something. So right now, lawyers and business people and television executives, and God bless them, they're geniuses and they look great, television executives. And they lost weight. They get a haircut.
Whatever.
They are now going to sit around and decide how it is that they're going to have to figure this out, because the NCAA is dumbfounded by it. Yeah. The NCAA wants to pretend they keep up this charade that somehow this is about the student athlete and that these kids are all getting an education and they get out of it what they put into it, and therefore if they want, this is a great opportunity for them.
But you realize like university professors don't even make that much money. I mean, it's not like universities are overflowing with money to be able to.
No. Well, it was always the case that the university president made 1/10 to 1/3 of what the football coach made. Yeah. All right. We'll come back. Stay right here. 591-8900 is our telephone number. Come right back to your phone calls.
Bruce Wolf and Dan Proft, 5 to 9 weekday mornings on Chicago's Talk Leader, 89 WLS.
All right. To the phones we go at 591-8900. The unionization of the NCAA athlete. How does this work? Matt, you're on WLS. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that these athletes, they're already getting paid in numerous ways that are unaccounted for through their scholarships. Typically, I was a Division I athlete, and so was my fiance at Eastern Illinois, and any money that wasn't used towards tuition and board and all that came back to the athlete in the form of a check, especially if they were living off campus or something like that.
Oh, so their housing, so you could pay for your housing, technically pay for your housing off campus.
And if housing didn't eat up all that check, the rest of that money was yours to use however you wanted.
Did you have to pay taxes on that? I mean, theoretically, did you?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't, and besides, he went to Western.
His name is really Jim, and he went to Central Michigan. We're just using the name Matt here. and his fiance was a cheerleader, not a Division I athlete.
Eastern Illinois is the cradle of quarterbacks, sir.
That's right.
So, I mean, that really is something. All right, what do you make of this? I mean, as a guy who played in this, now I don't know. Again, you were not BCS eligible at Eastern. But,
no.
But if this that this BCS thing is only made up for television purposes anyway. So the lawyers are going to get in and pierce all of that. And this could, fill its way all the way down the scholarship ranks for Division I, Division II. Division III is Division III because they don't offer athletic scholarships. You can do academic scholarships, but you can't do athletic scholarships.
Well, they give tuition waivers at Division III.
Yes, right.
Sir, what?
Hold on a second. You're saying that the tuition waiver has something to do with an athletic prowess? Sir, I want you to take that back.
I received one myself. I went to a junior college for 2 years and received a tuition waiver.
So they
just said, hey, don't worry about your tuition.
That's true. When I was being recruited by college, which was about the level of my football ability, I did something about that. That is true.
I was track and field, but
college, by the way, that is the cradle of coaches. College. There's a cradle of everything for all these schools. All right, Marv Levy went to college. Thank you. All right,
I believe he founded it.
He may have founded it, right?
Mr. Co.
Right, he may have built it. All right, so here's the question. Do you think this will happen? I mean, obviously the NLRB has signed off on it, but if it happens, will it make college athletics better or worse, sir?
In my opinion,
yes, sir.
It would taint it. It would make it worse. And I think that the NCAA can fight it as much as they want, because they basically own the athlete once the athlete takes a scholarship. I mean, they control what you do in the off season. They control what you do during season. And not so much at Eastern, but in these bigger schools, they probably get away from it. But at Eastern, we were limited to the number of hours we could spend each week in our athletic arena.
Right. I think that's true all the way through.
I think it was 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then your game days, they give you 3. So, I mean, you're really looking at a part-time job. But in the bigger, arenas like Texas A&M, Notre Dame, things like that, especially in the BCS, they probably get away from that. I can't speak factually to that.
And it's also
there are ways of doing workouts and stuff without coaches present and all that kind of stuff.
Right. They do all that summer long, right?
Yeah. I mean, and then it does become. And thanks for the call, Matt. And you and your fiance are going to have fantastic athletic kids. I'd like to buy some stock in them if I could, because we talked about that earlier this week.
Lucy, you're on WLS. Hey, Lucy.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Hey, so listen, I'm thinking about this, and I'm wondering. So if the athletes can unionize in football and maybe in other sports, what about the other student body groups, like the music, the art, anybody on an academic scholarship or things like that? What's going to stop those groups from asking to be unionized?
Nothing!
An equity production of A Streetcar Named Desire.
I'm telling you. And the unions love the idea of this.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
So what is that going to turn our colleges into, our universities? What's going to happen? I mean, what's that going to...
We're on break. We're going to be on break. I understand the idea of unions. I get it. And I understand the reason for them. I understand how that all happened. Mm-hmm. But there are some unions that don't seem to make a ton of sense. One would argue that a union representing actors, actresses, radio personalities, and television talk show hosts doesn't make a ton of sense.
But
I wouldn't.
How dare you?
I wouldn't make that argument, but I know many of you people out there would make the argument as fine union members as we are. But I mean, but the fact of the matter is that this takes it to another level that I don't think. I'll be honest with you. I don't believe that Kane Coulter and the gentleman who was behind it was not Kane. But there's a guy who's actually a really brilliant guy. I think he's a lawyer, if I'm not mistaken, who was sort of the guy that came up with this in the first place. He's done a lot of interviews. He may have thought this was going to happen. I don't think any of the other people thought it was going to happen. I think Kane Coulter got involved in this thinking, well, we'll get a seat at the table, we'll get their attention, and we'll get some of these work rules. Pardon me, Lucy, thank you very much. Pardon the expression work rules, but work rules change. And then boom, next thing you know, here you go. All right. Very interesting. The world has changed. I just want to make sure that they're still going to play this fall, right? On Saturdays, right?
We'll see.
Don't strike.
Yes, right? If they don't
players might all have a bunch of stickers and patches like NASCAR drivers on their uniforms, though.
Okay,
great.
this is a break. Although you do have it in have unions on all the professional sports,
of course,
and that's really helped.